You're very welcome on to the Matchbook Football Podcast. We're in the middle of a Champions League week, but coming to you here live on Thursday morning and in your feeds Thursday lunchtime. I'm your host, Daniel Hussey, joined as ever by Mark O'Haire and Adrian Clarke, trying to kick on from their good weekend and decent midweek. It's been sort of winners here, some close calls as well. Before we get going, insights.matchbook.com, full recap of all the guys' picks. We do see a lot of you heading over there. If you take 2 seconds, wherever you're watching and listening, hit that like button and subscribe and follow completely for free. And as ever, this offer is exclusive to podcast listeners. Enter the bonus code POD50. It's our most generous new customer offer. So if you haven't taken the plunge yet, why not check us out? You get the benefits of the exchange pricing, as we'll take you through, but also you get the benefits of a sports book as well with our bet builder options too. But lads, we'll get straight into it because these are 4 really good games in the Premier League, I think. We'll start with Manchester United versus Chelsea, as it will be our money back special. This is Saturday, 5:30. There are perhaps bigger games to come in terms of the title race, but this is a fascinating game nonetheless. Mark, we'll start with you. I mean, where do we start with these two teams? Maybe just quickly on Chelsea last night. Palmer's goal was excellent. All that's good about this Chelsea side, but look, they were beaten by the better team versus this Manchester United side who've had all week to prepare for this game. We don't really know where they're at the moment, I guess, with their home form, given they obviously got that win against Burnley, but were quite poor throughout the season. So where are you at with a bet for this one?
Tricky. Who do you trust? Who can you trust? Is always the big question coming into these kind of fixtures. From a Manchester United perspective, the board seem to be backing Amorim. That might probably be more due to the expense of sacking him at this stage of his contract rather than anything we've seen on the pitch, because progress, has there been progress? I guess that's the question. And most people would say probably not, actually, because his stubbornness just seems to be sort of ruining his own reputation. And it's difficult to defend him really at this stage. That sort of rigidity really sort of cost them last week. The squad just doesn't look suited to his stylist system, especially when you play Bruno Fernandes in central midfield, even more so when Ugarte has such an awful game as he did alongside him. So, those two were outplayed and outmaneuvered by Man City's 3 in midfield. And City didn't need to be at their best. They were far from it, I thought. They were pretty ordinary. They're just pretty clinical in forward areas. And I also thought United started okay until the opening goal, and then it was pretty shambolic after that. But I was positive about their chances going into the derby. I thought they could make it competitive. But it wasn't really. And defensively and in the midfield, they've just been riddled with holes at the minute. So I might be mad here, but I'm still not completely down on them. And I made the point last week that more often than not, Amorim and his team have managed to put something together against the bigger boys, the better teams. And so far, they played 2 of the top 3, a stingy mid-table side and a promoted team. And they've been all right for the most part. They've not been as bad as perhaps we've been led to believe. Yes, last week was poor. Yes, the Grimsby game was an embarrassment. But there's been other parts of their football so far this season where they've actually been okay or good. They've had a full week rest and preparation time. This is an evening kickoff on Saturday, so there should be a good atmosphere against a good team like Chelsea, who have had to go to Bayern Munich on Wednesday. So an away schedule for them, being in Europe on a Wednesday, Saturday turnaround. That's tough. So and United do have a knack of getting something out of these games against Chelsea. For what it's worth, 12 home Premier League games unbeaten now against Chelsea. Only twice in that 12-game sample have they been priced up below 2.3. So the majority of those matches, United have been around the same sort of 2.7 or bigger mark. And they've still managed to get results here against Chelsea, despite being kind of less fancied, shall we say, by the market. So, and in terms of Chelsea, I'm still yet to be convinced. The Bayern Munich match, I thought they started really well. Yes, the goal was really well taken, but they were beaten by the better team. But again, sort of we talked off air and we talked last week in the Champions League how much jeopardy are really in these big games. Chelsea should still qualify. So, in terms of the title race, I still think they're nowhere near the likes of Liverpool or Arsenal just yet. So, and I'm sure they had an eye on Bayern last weekend when they had that team selection, that performance against Brentford. But for me, Maresca wasn't massively impressed, obviously, with the triple halftime substitution. I still think there are massive doubts as well about their depth, about their ability to defend, and about the goalkeeper too. Under Maresca, half of their 8 away league wins have come against teams who finished in the bottom 5. And so I'm kind of happy to leave them alone at these kind of prices with the schedule against them as well. But I can't really get excited about backing Man United either. So I did consider backing United with a quarter goal start, which would have been the obvious solution if I do want to be against Chelsea at these kind of prices. But in the end, I've just decided to back the draw here at 3.7, which you can boost it to 3.95 by including under 4.5 goals. So you're effectively backing 0-0, 1-1 and the 2-2. I'm just mindful of following the media narrative right now of going against Man United. They're already significant outsiders here. They're well rested. They are at home in a big game under the lights at Old Trafford, in need of a response after a bit of a humbling last weekend. I think there's a few factors there for me to sort of sit on the fence rather than be with Chelsea, who are already sort of well favoured by the market.
Okay, yeah. So that's, as Mark touched on, 3.95. We've seen Adrian reporting a few places that he gets 12 million in his first year contract if he gets fired mid-November for Manchester United fans, if you're tuning in. Do you see, before you get to your bet, Adrian, and you can lead into it, do you see a scenario where it works out for him at Manchester United?
I don't, unfortunately. No, I think that he looks like a manager that's maybe a little bit out of his depth. I think he's a good coach. I just don't think he's got the personnel to make this system a success at that club. I just don't. So no, I think he's on borrowed time, and I think ultimately he will. I don't think he'll see the season out. Is my honest opinion. He'll probably be a roaring success somewhere else, but I just think that this group of players would be better with a back four and maybe one extra sort of attacking player in the pitch. Certainly Bruno further up. The central midfield. When I noticed that they didn't really reinforce inside the engine room in the transfer window, it absolutely staggered me. I could not believe it. And I think that Amorim might pay a heavy price for that. In terms of this match, I'm very much like Mark here. I don't know I can't decide who to win. When I was looking at this game, I flip-flop between going Manchester United plus a quarter of a goal, like Mark mentioned. Then I was thinking of what about a Chelsea angle? And then am I really convinced about Chelsea yet? And the answer is no. So I'm going to kind of sit on the fence as well. I do think that Manchester United stats-wise have been really good. I mean, most shots in the Premier League, most shots in the box, most touches in the box, second highest expected goals tally. But where they fall down is the conversion rate, 5.71%. It's, I think, second worst. And also, actually, in terms of expected goals against, Man United are pretty bad, fourth worst in the division, which, hints at that midfield and the lack of protection that they're giving the back four. So I think this could be quite a good game. I think that I look at it and I think Chelsea's midfield should absolutely wipe the floor with Manchester United. So that makes me think of them. But then I also start to get on side with Mbeumo, who I think has started pretty well. I think that he can cause them a number of problems, making those runs in behind. And as I've just said, that they are actually creating quite a few chances. I like both teams to score here. Actually, I think it's happened in 7 of the last eight meetings between Manchester United and Chelsea, and it's based on a lack of solidity for both. I don't think Manchester United have got things right, as discussed. Chelsea, I've got my reservations about the back four, certainly about the goalkeeper. Conceded 3 at the Allianz. So I can see a United side who are creating all these chances. By the way, they've had over 20 shots in each of their last 5 home games. 94 shots. 94 shots in the last 4 home games. So going back to the end of last season, but over 20 in each of them. I don't know if they'll get that much in this game, but if they do, or get close to it, they should be able to score. And I think Chelsea can absolutely score against United, particularly driving down the middle of the pitch. Palmer, Caicedo and Enzo. I think it's going to be too much for them. So I like both teams to score, but it's 1.57. It's a really skinny price. So if you want to get a better price, just add under 4.5 goals and it takes it to even money, 2.0. Don't see 5 goals being scored. But this gets obviously a number of scorelines on board, doesn't it? Obviously the 1-0 and the 2-2 that ties in with Mark. but the 2-1 either way as well, and the 3-1 either way. So quite a lot of scores on the board for even money. So that's my pick.
Okay, yeah. So both the guys going for slightly different selections there, or you can back them in our money back podcast travel, which is draw both teams to score under 4.5 goals. Bigger price than we normally go with, but a fun one to cheer on for 5:30 kickoff on Saturday. That comes in at about 7-2 or 4.5 on Matchbook. Full T's and C's available on insights.matchbook.com. Let's go to the early kickoff here, and it's the Merseyside derby, Liverpool versus Everton. Liverpool around 1.5 currently on Matchbook, 4.9 the draw, 7.6 for Everton. Mark, we'll start again with you. 5 last-minute winners and counting for Liverpool. But there was an inevitability watching the Atletico game last night that this goal is coming, even though they weren't creating bundles and bundles of chances. Once they got that corner, you were watching it, and fantastic header from Van Dijk.
Yeah, I mean, they shouldn't have really been in that position requiring that last-minute winner. They should have had the game home and hosed, especially when you scored 2 goals in the first 10 minutes. But they largely dominated that match. 7 big chances created. The best team won in the end, but it probably should have been slightly easier. And look, ordinarily I'd be looking at this game and immediately going to sort of try and back Liverpool to win and under 4.5 goals. So still feels like the most likely outcome, but I think there's enough warning signs now for me to take the result out of the equation this time around. So Liverpool have won the last 8 home Merseyside derbies, which have been played in front of supporters. Everton's only win at Anfield since 99, I think it is, came during the COVID era. So, if you look at those wins, those last 8 wins on the spin, they've all featured a maximum of 3 goals. And with this match coming so soon after that Champions League game, Wednesday night to the early kickoff on Saturday, that's a tough schedule. That has to be considered a bit of a negative, I think, for Liverpool. And look, I think everyone kind of agrees, maybe not on Wednesday night, but during the Premier League so far, they've not completely convinced either in those opening 4 matches. They have been reliant on those late goals. The Arsenal match looked destined for a draw before a 30-yard free kick settled it. I actually thought Liverpool was second best that day. Last weekend, lack of ideas, invention to open up a deep line Burnley defence. Bournemouth on the opening day was pretty chaotic, and the defence was a bit of a ramshackle. And at Newcastle, they scored 3 goals from 6 shots. So in all 4 matches, there have been decisive late goals. And in at least 3 of those, it's been not questionable if they've been the better team or not, but those matches could have easily gone a different direction. So there's enough there for me to leave them alone, actually, this weekend, because Everton are no mugs under Moyes. 5 defeats in 23 Premier League games since his return in January. They really could and should have beaten Aston Villa last weekend. Just 2 of their 20 efforts were on target, and they produced an XG of 188 compared to 0.41 of Villa, a threat from set pieces, and now also down the flanks too. And I think going forward with Jack Grealish and Iliman Ndiaye in particular, they are creating chances. They are looking influential in possession, and I think they'll come here and expect to be competitive as they were in April when they went down by a solitary goal. So either way, I do expect them to be relatively pragmatic, and whatever the outcome, I'd be surprised if this match got out of hand into being a sort of shootout or a really goal-heavy game. I know that Liverpool matches can do, but on this scenario, I think there's enough there to sort of leave the kind of high goal lines alone. So I want to oppose the high goal line. It's about 3.0. Market is in for about 3.2 goals in this game. And I'm just going to oppose that view, back under 3.5 goals. But I'm going to partner it with both teams to be booked. So you're getting a 1.8 shot for under 3.5 goals and both teams to be booked. So 9 of the last 10 Merseyside derbies at Anfield have gone under 3.5 goals. 14 of the last 18 head-to-head across all venues have featured a maximum of 3 goals. 3 of Everton's opening 4 games have gone under 2.5. And I think Moyes will have been encouraged by what Burnley managed to do last week. So, as I say, the schedule, the timing of this match is a negative for Liverpool. I still think they are finding their feet and finding their best team, their best approach. So I think Everton can be competitive here. And cards-wise, it doesn't require a huge amount of justification. It's a Merseyside derby, but 17 of the last 19 have seen both sides booked, an average of 46 booking points in those matches. Looked over the last 10 meetings at Anfield, and this part of the wager has won on every occasion. Both teams have actually been booked at least twice in all of Liverpool's Premier League games so far. Darren England is the referee. He's booked both teams in all games so far, and has hit 4 or more cards in 2 of his 3 games this season.
Okay, case there for under 3.5 goals and both teams to be booked. And Adrian, we've seen this countless times. Liverpool in a home and a Merseyside derby, low scoring game, they eventually break them down. Mark sort of alluded to David Moyes this season. Everton, like the likes of Grealish and stuff, they're a decent side now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think they can be a little bit more ambitious this time around. Obviously, of course, they'll look at what Burnley did and how they frustrated them, and have their moments where they have to low block it. Of course, they will. But I think this version of Everton is more attack minded. Grealish and Jai and of course Dewsbury Hall, who's really impressed me. I think that they can carry Everton up the pitch at times. And let's face it, look, what is Liverpool's weakness? It's at the back. It's definitely at the back. Atletico Madrid scored twice in midweek. Newcastle scored twice. Bournemouth scored twice. This is a team that that can be undone. They're definitely not as secure as they have been in the past. So I think that Everton will look to maybe be a bit more proactive than they have in the past. Not total low block play for a nil-niller. That's my view. The downside is that David Moyes has never won at Anfield, which is just unreal. He's got an absolutely shocking record there. 20 attempts, 6 draws, 14 defeats for David Moyes. So I can't say Everton are going to win. So I've turned to the bet builder actually here, because I'm not entirely sure that Liverpool will win the game. I think they could drop points. Obviously, they could have dropped points in every single game they've played so far this season quite easily. We've talked about that. So I'm going to go with Liverpool double chance, which is a little bit of a bottle job at home, but I'm going to go there because I want to cover the draw, and I don't think Everton win, but I do like both teams to score. Liverpool always score. We know that. I mean, they're in the midst of a massive run at the moment. I think only 2 teams in Premier League history have gone on longer runs of consecutive games scoring. So Liverpool are sure to score. And look, as mentioned, I think Everton have the quality now and might show a little bit more ambition to get themselves a goal as well. And I'm also on the cards bus, as is Mark. He rattled off the stats there. Darren England is giving out a lot of cards. This fixture averages 4 or more cards. I can absolutely see it. And Everton Liverpool, by the way, has had more red cards than any other Premier League fixture in the history of the competition. 25 red cards down the years. And it did get a bit feisty, didn't it, at Goodison, if you remember, last season, with that crazy end to the game, with Slot sort of getting in an argument and whatnot. So I think it could have a bit of an edge, even though it is that early kickoff. So yeah, I'm going to go with Liverpool double chance, both teams to score, and over 3.5 cards. So as Mark said, England has made over, I think, over 4 per game. I think we can see 4 or more players booked in this game, and what should be a pretty tasty derby. All that comes to 2.5.
Okay, 2.5 shot for Adrian there. Liverpool double chance, both teams are scoring over 3.5 cards, both the lads on the cards bus this weekend for the early kickoff. Let's go to the Sunday, Super Sunday we're going to cover in full here, and start with quite a tasty game. I think Bournemouth versus Newcastle. Bournemouth 2.52 favourites. Newcastle just short of 2-1, 3.0 on Matchbook. That's the best price out there at the moment, and the draw is 3.55. Adrian, start with you. I mean, and we're recording this ahead of the Newcastle Barcelona game, but let's just maybe focus on Bournemouth. They've been absolutely unbelievable. Probably the story of the season in some way. Can they keep that going? And what is like the ambition for this football club this season, just given the start that they've had? I guess they'll be looking at Europe.
Yeah, I think they can. I mean, they're not going to maintain a 75% win rate, are they? I mean, that's not realistic, but they can, they can cause any team problems. We know that. And what they've done, obviously, the Liverpool game, they put down an early marker that they're, despite losing 3 of their back 4 and their goalkeeper, that they're gonna attack teams. Consistently since the start of last season, only 3 teams have had more shots than Bournemouth. So they are attack minded. We know that they're a nightmare to play against because they've got amazing energy, ridiculous work ethic, and they'll press you and they'll look for those turnovers as well. They're a nightmare to contain. I just don't think they've got the depth in their squad to maintain a push for top 4 or top 5, but potentially they could be in the next rung below. But certainly a top half finish won't be beyond Bournemouth this season under Iraola. Semenyo obviously has been one of the players of the season so far. I think Tyler Adams has been really good in midfield as well. And they keep unearthing good young players, don't they? And the defence has held up pretty well to this point. And that's kind of where I'm at with the game. These are two really good teams out of possession. Excellent. Like, they're two of the best pressing teams in the division, two of the most awkward to play against. And I think it could be a very tenacious, sort of feisty game. But I think both teams protect their defence ever so well. Bournemouth got clean sheets, remember, against Spurs and Wolves, 1-0 win, scored early, held on. Scored early against Brighton as well, didn't they? Then they were pegged back, and then they went and got the winner. But these early goals are definitely putting them in a good position. We don't know about Newcastle, do we? How they're going to be after Barcelona. We don't know how they're going to play. We don't know how they're going to come out of it. But they might be a bit jaded. I think that's a fair assessment, or a fair bit of guesswork on our part. And with that in mind, they did have goalless draws at Leeds, at Aston Villa as well. Aside from that Liverpool game, which was a bit of a goal fest, there's only been one goal in a Newcastle match this season. So they've been really tight at the back, given very little away. I think they've got the best expected goals against, haven't faced many shots, Newcastle, this season. A bit slow, actually, against Wolves last week. Wolves could have scored, couldn't they, inside, was it 20 seconds or something silly? But the longer that game went on, the less likely Wolves looked like scoring. So when we sort of bundle all that up, I actually think this is going to be a tight game on a Sunday, early-ish kick-off on a Sunday. I don't see a load of goals in it. Newcastle will have a lot of respect for Bournemouth after their 4-1 win at St James's. The last time these two teams met, that was in January. And I think that they will go there and set out to contain to a degree. Eddie Howe's never beaten Bournemouth, by the way, since he left them. So I can't quite get on board with Newcastle, but I can get on board with under 2.5 goals. It's happened in the last 3 meetings at Bournemouth between these two clubs. So the last 3 times Newcastle have gone to the Vitality, in low scoring affairs, and I think it will be again. Newcastle, obviously 3 clean sheets this season. So yeah, under 2.5 goals. The reason this also attracts me is that it's odds against at 2.06. So that's my selection.
Okay, we'll lock that in under 2.5 goals. Mark, Adrian couldn't quite get there with Bournemouth, more so playing their defence. You can indeed. Quick mention to Newcastle, a massive move in the market from when we covered in the Champions League against Barcelona. I think that's probably because of some injuries there ahead of that game.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because we sort of knew Lamine Yamal was going to be missing this midweek anyhow. It was pretty much confirmed at the weekend. So I'm not really sure what is driving that move. It's one to watch for sure. Perhaps there's some injury news behind the scenes that we don't know about with Barcelona. But yeah, it's not a move I'd be jumping on board with. But in terms of this match, yeah, I wanted to cover this game because I've got a reasonable view on it, and that's because I want to oppose Newcastle. And there's a bit of a theme here in terms of what I'm saying and my reasoning for it. But yeah, this Newcastle match comes at 2 p.m. on Sunday after a night game against Barcelona at St James's on Thursday, where you just know that the players, the supporters, will be putting absolutely everything into what is quite a historic game, a historic occasion for Newcastle. We know they're quite an emotional club, very physical in how they play their game. And I think it's going to be tough for them to replicate that immediately after, especially when you consider the opponent. So you could argue, I think, that Bournemouth are probably the one club outside of the big hitters you want to avoid if you're feeling a little bit jaded physically and mentally after a big game, where there's obviously going to be a bit of a come down at some point, whether it's a high or a low, whatever's happened on Thursday night. There are a few teams who are fitter, more physical, more aggressive in their approach. They will hassle, harry, squeeze you. And of course, they're very well rested and they're confident and they're playing well at the minute. So I definitely want to have them on side. And the market has moved in their favour in the last 48 hours or so. They were about 265. They're now into, 250-ish. But we can still back Bournemouth with a 0 start on the Asian handicap at 187, the same as the draw no bet play, meaning we get our stakes returned if the game ends in a draw. And I think that's quite attractive considering the market does make Newcastle the better side by a reasonable distance, and that may be so, but I don't think that is the case immediately after a big Champions League night. A quick turnaround when you're playing away from home. So they have had a tough start. They competed very, very well against Liverpool, didn't deserve to lose that match. Were much the better team against Aston Villa on the opening day, but failed to win that match. But they have now won just once in trips to teams that finished 13th or higher since the start of last season. They've also won just once in 6 trips to Bournemouth, going back to 2018. And from a Bournemouth perspective, they've had to rebuild their entire backline over the summer, but it just goes to show what a wonderful coach Iraola is, that it hasn't been a factor yet. The system is the real winner here, and the fact that the midfield and the attack has been pretty much untouched still allows them to play this relentless pressing style and almost protect that defence. So the only loss came on the opening day when they were pretty lively at Liverpool. Last week, they reduced Brighton to just 6 shots. I already have them third on expected points this season. They were up in the top 6 last season. And they should be aiming high, aiming for European qualification this season. So, I've been really impressed, as I was last season. So happy to oppose them at the Lions, considering Newcastle's schedule.
Okay, Adrian with under 2.5 goals, and Mark backing Bournemouth on the Asian handicap line, effectively draw no bet. Let's move on to the big game this weekend, 4:30 Sunday, Arsenal versus Manchester City. Adrian, going into this game from an Arsenal perspective, how confident are you that Arsenal at the Emirates can apply their game plan and put in a really good performance here?
I'm pretty confident. Yeah, look, it's Man City, so you can never take it for granted, but Arsenal are in a pretty good place, I would say. We've talked a lot about sort of advantages in terms of the schedule, and there's no doubt that Arsenal have got a little bit lucky here in terms of the schedule. 4:30 on Sunday after a Tuesday game is advantageous compared to City playing Napoli tonight, which is Thursday. So, yeah, they've got 2 days extra rest, which will help. I think the main reason I'm feeling so bullish about Arsenal at the moment is that the defensive solidity is very, very good. I mean, we saw Liverpool almost shut out, created very little, didn't they, in that game at Anfield? It's a worldie that wins it, and Arsenal haven't conceded a goal in any of the other games. And against Manchester United, maybe rode their luck a bit, but the next 2 or 3 in all competitions, nothing really. Athletic Club was a tricky game and gave them next to nothing. I mean, the XG against for Arsenal is really impressive. Timber's playing great. Calafiori's playing fantastically. Gabriel and Mosquera have been awesome. Saliba might be fit enough to play in this game. So wouldn't be surprised if he gets a recall, but Mosquera has been so good, virtually flawless. So he looks a heck of a player for the 30 million that Arsenal spent. So I just think that Arsenal will feel that they can handle City's threats here. Haaland worries me clearly because he's in unreal form, isn't he? He looks really hungry and he's playing ever so well. So that is a problem. I think Tijani Reinders and the runs that he makes from midfield are a potential concern, especially off Zubimendi, who isn't the best at sort of covering big distances. He's been excellent in short spaces, but longer runs, tracking those, he might have a problem. So there are a couple of reasons where City might do okay. They might get themselves a goal, but overall, I think Arsenal's defensive solidity will give them the platform to go and win the game. And look, the wingers are playing really well at the moment. Obviously, we saw the subs come on in midweek, Martinelli and Trossard, and win it for Arsenal. But the first choice guys at the moment, I suppose, are Eze and Madueke. And when I look at those two, I would fancy them against City's fullbacks. I think left back's been a bit of a problem for City this season with Nuri out. O'Reilly played there the other day, didn't he? Will he be trusted, or will it be Gvardiol? Don't know. Right back, similar. Who's going to play there? Kusanov? Is it going to be Rico Lewis? Is it going to be Mateus Nunes? Who knows? He's not settled on it, has he? And I think that Arsenal can make hay down the sides for sure. And look, Arsenal, I'm beating him 4 against City. Have won the last 2 at Emirates Stadium. And Victor Gyökeres, did really well for Sporting, didn't he, against Pep's side before? So, yeah, there's lots of reasons, I think, to think Arsenal can win the game. It's a pretty big game. This tough early schedule to the season has gone all right. Obviously, crushing disappointment to lose so late on at Anfield. Everything else has been good. But with a trip to St James's Park, a bit of a bogey ground on the horizon, I think Arteta will get the players really pumped up for this. He'll see this as sort of, we must win this. And I think Arsenal will, but it'll be a close game. I've got no question about that. It'll be a close game. It's not going to be a 5-1 like last year. City are younger, more athletic, more mobile. There's Rodri now. They'll make a good game of it, City, but I think Arsenal are the better team, and I think they'll prevail. So if you want to back Arsenal and under 4.5 goals, the under 4.5 is very common, obviously, with Arsenal matches, especially against the big teams. It's 2.22, which I don't mind at all.
Okay, yeah, that's a jump from 197, Mark, which is Arsenal's price. Is that roughly where you have it heading into this game? City 4.1?
Slightly shorter than I would have Arsenal. I would make them sort of evens, 2.05-ish. As soon as they slipped into odds-on territory in the last 24 hours, I did wince a little bit. It feels slightly short for what is a very big game. Obviously, I still make them the better team of the two. They're still in the better shape coming into this match, despite no Odegaard, Saliba or Saka. If Saliba is fit or not, we'll wait and see. But as Adrian says, Mosquera's slotted in superbly so far. But yeah, I just look at Arsenal right now, and I've just been really impressed by their work in the market, because they've strengthened the squad, strengthened the spine of the side, strengthened the areas that required improvement, really. And they're looking strong and very good and capable of picking up something from this match. They were put under pressure by Athletic in that first half on Tuesday, but they survived those scares without giving away any real significant chances. And they're still yet to concede a big chance, as defined by Opta this season in the Premier League. And if you look at the last 4 fixtures, no team has created a chance with an expected goals value of 0.12 or bigger. They just don't give away big chances. And we know they're the best defensive team in Europe. So, excuse me, that shouldn't be a huge surprise. But I guess there still is that question mark over their open play ability. But that backline will always keep you in games, and their set piece ability too will make them capable of picking up these results. So just because Arsenal slipped under the even money mark, I've decided to ignore the winner price and instead take the insurance on Arsenal double chance and under 3.5 goals, which is 186, which I think is a nice angle to attack here. You've got the 0-0, 1-1, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 or 2-1. Arsenal wins on side. Man City have that match at Napoli to contend with. I'm still not overly on board with them. They still do give up chances and opportunities. We've seen them lose control at Brighton. The Spurs game I thought was alarming. The United match, they weren't massively tested after the opening goal. And if you look at last season, they only won once at top half teams, which was Chelsea on the opening day of the season. They lost 6 of those 9 matches. And there was a lot of revisionism, I think, based around Arsenal's defeat at Liverpool, how Mikel Arteta approaches these big games, how Arsenal are almost scared to win matches. But I think we need to sort of highlight Man City's record in these big matches instead. And I think Pep Guardiola deserves to be under the spotlight here too, because since the start of 23-24, Arsenal have lost once in 22 against the big 6. That was Liverpool with the free kick goal from 30 yards. They didn't deserve to lose it. Man City have won 7 of their 22, and they failed to win, obviously, on 15 occasions. They've also won just 3 of their last 15 away trips to top 6 finishers in the Premier League, despite winning the title in 2 of those 3 seasons. So I think rather than question Arteta's ability to win these big games, we need to look at City's record when travelling to the big teams in the big matches, because it's not great. So I'm quite happy to oppose them here and have Arsenal double chance on side and include the goals, because 11 of those 15 City away days at the top 6 finishers went under 3.5. 14 of the 19 away last season went under 3.5, as did 13 of Arsenal's home games last season. Obviously, it was 5-1 last season. I don't expect to repeat this time around. City aren't in as bad a shape this time around. I think it will be interesting. I don't necessarily think it will be hugely exciting, but I think Arsenal should avoid defeat in a low-scoring game.
Okay, take your pick, whichever way you want to go in Arsenal versus Manchester City. Some interesting stats there on Pep Guardiola as well. Let's move on to EFL selections. Adrian, you've 2, starting with Salford versus Swindon.
Yeah, my only odds-on selection today.
Oh, well.
I'm sort of pushing the boat out. So this is
it's
a shorter price. So it's 1.75, and it's Salford against Swindon, and I fancy goals. Over 2.5 goals would be my shout here. It's third, hosting first, but these two have been scoring lots and lots of goals. 7 of Swindon's 8 matches so far have seen over 2.5 goals. They've only had 1 clean sheet, though, the leaders, in those 8 games. So they will go and try and outscore you under Ian Holloway. Salford have only had 1 clean sheet as well, so not defended brilliantly under Carl Robinson. But they do want to get on the front foot and attack. They want to be aggressive. Carl Robinson has been at pains to point out this season that he wants more fans to come and watch Salford City. He wants to give them a better brand of football. He wants to entertain. And to be fair, they kind of have at the moment. Both teams have had both teams to score land in 6 of their 8 matches. And both have scored in 7 of their 8 appearances as well. So they keep scoring. They very rarely keep a clean sheet. So that's 2 goals. If you've got 1 apiece, you only need 1 more. And this is a big game. Swindon have scored 9 times, by the way, in their away games so far. That's more than 2 a game. And they've got 3 in each of their last 2 on the road, Swindon. So they're not afraid to go wherever and attack you. As for Salford, in the last 2 home games, they've scored 3 goals in each of those as well. So they're feeling pretty good about themselves. But they haven't kept a clean sheet at home yet, Salford. So yeah, over 2.5 feels very likely here based on what we've seen of these 2 teams. It is 1.75. So yeah, short price, but I'm on board with it.
Okay, and second selection, MK Dons to win to 0 versus Accrington Stanley.
Yeah, this is a good price, I think. I mean, if this had been the first day of the season, I don't think there's any way I would have got this price. MK Dons are the what are they? The Man City. They're the wealthiest club
in the league.
Yeah, they've got loads of money compared to the rest of the League Two. They've bought a squad really that it should be at the top end of League One. It hasn't clicked yet. I've got to say it's been a bit inconsistent, but the players they've got are excellent. Accrington Stanley, I would hazard a guess their budget is just minuscule compared to MK Dons. They're scratching around, young players, in a lot of inexperience, and they're finding it tough going, which I think is totally understandable. So yeah, I like MK Dons to win to 0 here. So MK and both teams to score no. It's 2.63. I think that's a really good price. I think it's a good price because MK have lost their last 2 home games, which isn't good. Lost to Walsall and Grimsby. But for me, Walsall and Grimsby are two pretty good teams. There was a decent bounce back from MK last week. They went to Chesterfield and got a 1-1 draw. They did keep clean sheets in their first 2 home games, MK. Walloped Cheltenham. And I would put Cheltenham and Accrington in a similar category in terms of where they might finish this season. And in fairness, MK have maybe been a bit unlucky in terms of conceding the goals they have. They've faced the 3rd fewest shots. They've been, by and large, pretty solid. I just think they'll be embarrassed if they don't win this game, MK. They should walk it. And I don't think Accrington will give them too many problems. They've blanked in 3 of their 4 away games, Accrington Stanley. They've only scored 1 goal on the road this season. And actually, they've only scored 4 since the season began. And they've not scored, Accrington Stanley, not scored more than 1 in a game at all so far this season. So I just think this is a tough away assignment for them. MK should win. And based on Aki's kind of lack of firepower, they should win to 0 here. So 2.63 is the price.
Okay, maybe getting a bigger price than perhaps you would have at the start of the season. Mark, we've got 2 selections from Sweden here.
Yeah.
Your time.
So shall I run through both of them back to back?
Go for it.
All right, we'll start on the Allsvenskan, the top flight in Sweden. The league leaders, Mjällby, are enjoying a remarkable season. They've never won a major trophy. The cup winners in 23, I think it is. But they're in the 3rd tier as recently as 2018. But they are 10 points clear at the top of the table. They've lost once in 23, winning 17 of those. With a quarter of the season left, it's all very much in their hands. They are understandably short price favourites to beat a relegation-threatened Osters team this weekend. Very difficult to oppose them. 17 wins in 23, 8 wins from 11 at home, 10 wins from 11 unbeaten games against the bottom half, 6 of which arrived alongside clean sheets. And I think that's the angle that stands out the most here. Mjällby about 1.4 to win this game, but include both teams to score no, and it's 2.4, so the full unit's bigger. just to include the clean sheet there. You might even get bigger on the exchange closer to kickoff. But yeah, it's a price that really appeals. Mialbi have conceded just 6 goals in 11 home league games. They have 5 clean sheets in that same sample. They have 1 without conceding in 4 of 6 against the bottom 4. And they come into this game unbeaten in 9, winning 8 of those, keeping 5 clean sheets and conceding just 4 goals. Quite a remarkable season so far. And you look at their opposition, Osters are down in 3rd bottom. They were 3-2 down at home to the rock bottom side last week, but managed to turn it around in stoppage time. Had they lost, they'd have been only just 3 points above rock bottom coming into this match. They still are 45 points below Mialbi at this stage of the season. They've lost 8 of 11 against the top half. They scored twice in those 11 games and failed to score on 9 occasions. They've scored once in 6 trips to the teams in 9th and above, and they have lost without scoring in 8 of 11 against the top half, including 4 of 5 versus the top 3. So their last away trip, they went to 2nd place Hammarby and they lost 4-0. They have the 2nd worst data in the division when playing away, and I suspect they will lose this match without offering a huge amount. So Mialbi to win and BTTS no is 2.4. And following a very similar theme, we're dropping down into the Super Etan, the 2nd tier, and we're going to back Kalmar to win and BTTS no against Sandviken at 262. So Kalmar are, they've lost just once in 22. They're only off the top on goal difference. They've conceded only 15 goals in 22, kept 13 clean sheets, which is a 59% hit rate. And at home, it's 7 clean sheets and 11, just 8 goals conceded. They're in great form as well. 7 unbeaten, 5 wins, 1 goal conceded in that 7-game sample. Their only loss this season came against the table toppers. They're 9 wins from 11 at home. And the win to 0 has banked on 7 occasions at home. They've also won to 0 in all 5, against the bottom 6 so far. And they've kept clean sheets in 11 of 15 against teams outside of the top 6. You look at Sandviken, they are 10th in the 16-team league. But if we take out their results against the bottom 3 this season, they've gone 4 wins, 3 draws, and 10 defeats. They've lost 8 of 12 against the top half. They've failed to score in 9 of those 12. And they've scored 1 goal at top half teams and only managed 11 goals across all of their 11 away days. They scored 1 goal in 5 meetings with the top 4 and have struggled past the 2 of the bottom 3 coming into this match too. So there's a big quality gap here as well. So Kalmar to win and BTTS no is 262. But if you want to keep it simple, a bonus 3rd selection here is just about Kalmar and Mialbi to win in a double. It comes in about 2.1.
Okay, we're keeping that off the sheet for official selection, Mark. You don't want to double them up?
No, bang it in. We're in form.
Bang it in. Brilliant. It'll be up on insights.matchfit.com and full recap and records posted every week.
I want a full blow-by-blow analysis from Mark after the game of what happened. I mean, I know he'll be there watching both
yeah.
full 90 minutes.
Yeah, I will be watching. So,
if it's 2 winning bets, i.e. 2-1-0 wins, Mark, maybe we happily leave that off for a review, if that's okay. And let's move on to long shots and 2 teams that people will know a lot more about, Adrian, Sunderland versus Aston Villa. I watched the Everton Villa game. I mean, Villa had moments where like one pass and they're in, and Rodgers missed a couple of bad ones. I think his form has fallen off a cliff. Short sample size, I know. And Sunderland with 2 wins at home, so this could be an opportunity to get Sunderland on a decent price here.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, Sunderland would be thrilled, weren't they? 7 points on the board already. And look, they had quite an easy start on paper, a gentle start compared to some, and they had to take advantage, and they kind of have, haven't they? So well done to them. I think they've done ever so well so far. I really do. And this is a fixture at home to Aston Villa that I think that they will believe they can win as well. And they're outsiders, as you probably would expect. You know, they're newly promoted, and Villa are used to being in the Champions League now, aren't they? Or certainly at the top end of the division. So we'll get the prices, but in terms of form, I mean, Aston Villa is not good at the moment. Obviously, yet to score. They did score in midweek, but went out of the League Cup, didn't they, on pens at Brentford. But just something smells off at Aston Villa to me. They don't look a happy camp. Unai Emery looks flustered. He looks over-animated. And they look a little bit short of ideas, in my opinion. Not creating anywhere near enough chances, aren't they? In terms of XG, it's the 2nd lowest in the division. So it's not unlucky that they've not scored any. Okay, they've had chances, of course they have, but the 2nd lowest isn't great, is it? And actually, if you look at what's happening at the other end of the pitch, it's the 2nd highest XG against. So they may be fortunate that it's not worse. Just I mean, Sunderland, but to give a comparison, are very high in terms of expected goals against. They haven't given that much away. Their XGA is actually better than Spurs, Man City, and Manchester United. So, I know they've had easy-ish fixtures, but that's a pretty good start. They're solid. And at the Stadium of Light, as you said, they've won a couple of games already. Robin Roofs, the goalkeeper, has looked really fantastic, and they've defended well as a team, and that's what they will do under their manager. That was the basis of their promotion, really. Very good out of possession. So yeah, I like Sunderland as a long shot option here. To get it into long shot territory, what do we have to do? You have to pair it with under 3.5 goals to get to 4.7. And I think under 3.5 goals is likely, given Villa and how limp they've been as an attacking force. Given that Sunderland don't have world class front players, do they? They're not. I don't think they're going to blow many teams away with 4s and 5s. All 4 of their matches have been under 3.5 goals, by the way, for Sunderland. And in the Villa matches, only 4 goals have been scored overall. In total, there's been a couple of 0-0ers. So yeah, under 3.5 goals and a Sunderland win, 4.7. I can see it happening. I mean, it is a long shot, but it's not impossible, is it?
No, good case there as well, both pro Sunderland and against Aston Villa, and that's normally where you get decent value. Mark, I mean, the Rangers watching from afar is quite funny in this part of the world. I make no apologies for saying that. And as I mentioned to you off air, we're at the stage now, as people with Celtic allegiances, that you sort of want Rangers to, do enough to just keep Russell Martin there for as long as possible, and we can enjoy this soap opera.
You really are alienating the Rangers fan base, aren't you? Even starting that with the Rangers. But yeah, it's quite incredible that Russell Martin is still in the job. The board have backed him, but the suggestion is that they're sounding out replacements because it's beyond bad. Really, it's the worst I've known in my lifetime, bar obviously the time when they almost went bust and got demoted. But it's quite hard to fathom quite how bad they've been. It's their worst start for 47 years. The fact they're sitting 10th in the Scottish Premiership kind of highlights how awful they've been. And whilst he's still in charge, I think they're opposable again this weekend because, as old firm fans will tell you, draws are disastrous. Defeats are just inconceivable, really. And Martin has won 3 of 12 games overall. One of those 12 games was against Alloa Athletic, and they are winless in the Scottish Premiership, having been blanked now in 3 successive games, including that home defeat to Hearts last time out. They've not even scored 2 goals in a game yet this season in the league. And the pressure is, understatement of the year, the pressure is on going into this League Cup game against Hibs. Martin tried to sort of change his scenery a bit this week. He took his players hiking, took them for a dip in Loch Lomond as well. But considering the players have not really responded to his way of working so far on the field, I can't imagine sort of swimming in the lake is going to be a major difference. So there's a toxic atmosphere around the club, and they are very vulnerable against a very capable Hibs team this weekend. Hibs won at Ibrox in April. They're also unbeaten in 3 head-to-heads. They've won at Red Star Belgrade. They've won at Legia Warsaw already this season as well. And they're 4.5 to win at Ibrox on Saturday night, which is more than well worth a look. It's worth having a crack at that because Rangers are just embarrassing at the minute, and I think they will continue to be so. So, happy to oppose them again and again.
Yeah, that league table is amazing. The 2 teams on 13 and then 6 points for 3rd place, but League Cup action for Hibs potentially to beat Rangers. A couple of decent long shots there. Best bet time. Adrian, take it away with your best bet on the card in the EFL.
Yeah, I've chose this one because of the price, really. I just think it represents pretty good value. It's not probably the most likely to land of all the selections in today's show, but I do think that it offers maybe the best value based on what we've seen so far. It's Plymouth to beat Peterborough and for there to be over 2.5 goals in the game. It's 2.7 on that happening. Going with goals, Plymouth matches are averaging 3.5. That's the most in the division. 5 of their 8 games have gone over 2.5 goals. They've got a brand new defence, Plymouth, under Tom Cleverley, and they're getting to know one another, and it hasn't really clicked. Just the one clean sheet so far. So attack has been the best form of defence for them. And look, they have scored a lot of goals. They've won 3 of their last 4 as well, Plymouth Argyle. So they've definitely turned a corner. And they've beaten some good sides. They won 3-2 against Luton. They beat Stockport County 4-2. These are 2 teams that I expect to be at least in the playoff picture this season. So they're capable of scoring a lot of goals, Plymouth. And they're up against a Peterborough side that, for me, are too inexperienced, too fragile at the back. No clean sheets for Peterborough so far. They've lost all 4 away matches. They've conceded at least twice in all 4 away matches. Actually, 3 in the last couple that they've played. They've started scoring. They've got 4 goals in their last 2 games, but they just can't keep it out of the back. And across their 8 games, they've conceded at least twice in 6 of those 8 games. And I think that Plymouth Argyle's attack will score more than 2 probably against Peterborough this weekend. But Posh are capable of notching themselves up against, like I say, a team that's only kept 1 clean sheet. So I'm looking at sort of a 2-1, 3-1. Could be even more exciting than that. Plymouth to win, over 2.5 goals, and it's 2.7.
Okay, that's locked in. Adrian's best bet. Final word to you, Mark. And you're generally an overs better, or at the very least looking for something fun to cheer on. So the fact we're going for best bet under 2.5 goals, Cheltenham versus Oldham, 16 league games between the 2 sides, 8 goals. I'd say that's the starting point for your bet here.
Yeah, well, just to give you a peek behind the curtain, I dabbled with going with something in Sweden, which we've already covered, or I wanted to get with goals at Swindon, which Adrian's covered as well. So this was sort of next best, if you like, and just got to oppose goals between these 2 teams. Cheltenham can't score. Oldham are rock solid defensively, but often far from high scoring themselves. I think it's got a nice cocktail for unders here. We can get it at 1.8. Cheltenham have had a wretched start. Sacked Gary Johnson, their director of football, this week. They're bottom of the EFL with just 4 points from 8 games and 3 goals scored. Failed to score in 5 of those 8, 6 of which have gone under 2.5 goals. But they've only really been shredded once, and that was away at Moneybags MK Dons, who we've already talked about. So just 4 goals conceded, though, in the last 4 games. And if you look at the XG across those 4 games, an average of 1.2 conceded per game, which suggests they are making improvements defensively, but going forward, they are rotten. And they're going to find it tough against Oldham, newly promoted Oldham, but a team who, under Mickey Mellon, are built from the back, built to be resilient, built to be strong, physical, and not give much away. And that's reflected in their results so far. So they've gone under in 7 of 8, but the results, 0-0, 1-1, 1-2, 0-0, 1-1, 0-1, 1-0, 1-0. 4 clean sheets, but they've also failed to score 3 times themselves. They're yet to score twice in the game, and only once have they conceded 2 goals or more. 5 of those matches going under 1.5 goals, including 3 of their 4 away. And they've only allowed 9 big chances across those 8 games so far, which should, in theory, stand them in good stead at Cheltenham, who've generated just 4 of their own so far this season. So Oldham are already well favoured by the market. I did look to try and get them on side in some way or form, but in the end, I've just decided to oppose goals, back under 2.5 goals, which obviously gets us paid on the 0-0, the 1-1, the 1-0 or 2-0 either way. 13 of their combined 16 League 2 matches have gone under 2.5 goals. Half of those 16 have gone under 1.5 goals. So I think the opportunity to back it at 1.8 under 2.5, that is, was nice enough to be a best bet material.
Okay, yeah, that's 1.8 currently on Matchbook. We're done. My thanks to Mark and Adrian. Comment here, Mark, to do the Venezuelan 5th division next. I would preach don't tempt him, because he definitely would come back with some sort of betting angle. But my thanks as always to the guys. They bring you all over the world throughout, but it's very much a good listen, not just Premier League focused, or at least Premier League dominated. My thanks to both. We will have a break, obviously, this weekend or Monday. There's no Champions League, but we'll be back around Wednesday, Thursday next week to bring you Premier League game week 6. Until then, enjoy the weekend's football. If you're having a bet, make sure it enhances enjoyment. Please do so responsibly, and we'll chat to you this time next week. Bye bye.